Hey Bradley, how you doing? All right, let's go ahead and take a look at your submission. But first, I want to address what you're writing here. I love these tracing projects. I do too. I love this assignment. I love it as both as a designer because it really helps me to gain a really intense familiarity with the typeface that I'm using, and I love it as an educator because it's just far and away the best way for students to learn the mechanics of letter forms as well as spacing on a really intimate level since you're drawing it yourself. Now, I mean, sure, the goal is perfection here, but that doesn't mean you're not learning if you don't achieve perfection. So, for example, you mentioned your score you got on the first one. You would never have gotten this score without getting this score at the comments. You see, so it's all a learning process. And that's the one thing I just love about this assignment. I just really love watching students. Sometimes, sometimes I go back to after we're done with our hand rendering exercises. Sometimes I'll go back and I'll look at students' last iteration of Fire and Ice and compare it to their first iteration of Banana, just for the heck of it, and just to see how far and how quickly students improve. So I agree, it's a great assignment. Okay, this one, it seems like you were hesitating a little bit according to what you were writing, and that's okay. It's all part of the process. I think my biggest thing is to slow down, step back, and really look it over before I finalize the location of the letter. Looking at, and that's exactly what kerning is. That's exactly what letter spacing is. Look at the completed Fire Eyes, part one. I can't help but be drawn to a connection between the A and the N, and I want to talk about that too. Serif, should the serifs. Watch your spelling. It's Serif for serif. So should the serifs be on an even level? All right, or connected maybe. So let me ask you a question, Bradley. Based on our reading, what does it call when two serifs are connected? Not a rhetorical question. You should be answering this. And the answer is a ligature. And then also, should the serifs be on an even level? And basically, that question would be phrased like this: should the serifs rest evenly on the baseline? Okay, so I just want to get you, a little bit familiar with using typographic terminology, as it were. Okay, so should the serifs be on an even level? Oh, wait, where are we? Should they connect? So, in other words, should the serifs create ligatures? And the answer there is it's okay to create ligatures. And as a matter of fact, sometimes it's necessary to create ligatures for proper kerning in anything above display type, which, as we have learned, is anything above 12 point is display type. So definitely you want to kern your headlines and anything above 12 point, it's okay for the serifs to touch to create ligatures. Anything below 12 point, which is considered to be body copy, you don't want your serifs to touch. You don't want to create ligatures. And of course, that's adjustable in display type over 12 point by using kerning, and in body copy under 12 point by using, of course, tracking. The other question was, should the serifs be even? Oh, should the serifs rest evenly on the baseline? And the answer to that, again, you know the answer to that already. And the answer to that is should they? Well, you're specifically speaking of the A and the N. Should they be connected? Let's go ahead and take a look at the A, and I've drawn this out. Let's go to yours before I go to mine. So the A and the N, where do they sit on the baseline? Well, the answer to that is no, they should not sit evenly on the baseline. Any letter that's got a curve in it in the highest point, the cap line, the mean line, and lowercase letters or the baseline, if there's a rounded portion of the letter, they're not going to sit evenly on the baseline because there is what we call overshoot. Let me show you what I mean. We can see right here, the question is, should the A and the N rest evenly on the baseline? We zoom in here and we see they're not resting. My baseline's a little bit off there. Let me just grab that and pull that down a little bit. Okay, that's better, I think. So we can see that the baseline is resting at the bottom of those serifs, right? But it doesn't have the same relationship with curved letter forms because the curve to accommodate for overshoot. Remember what overshoot is? It's the little area of the curved letter forms that go below the baseline or above the mean line or cap line for the optical relationship for those letters to look even in size with their straight counterparts or something without a curve. So no, they should not have the same relationship with the baseline. Let's go ahead and jump into your work. Bradley, the first thing I'm noticing, where the heck am I? Oh, okay, let me see. I'm looking forward to welcome. All right, let's jump over to, yeah, let's look at the baseline. This is not even. This distance between, what I'm saying is the baseline is not even. It's not perfectly horizontal. It kind of runs at a diagonal here. So I'm okay with you using a ruler, or better yet, even a T-square to establish a perfectly level baseline. Or you just come up here and measure the bottom of your paper and measure up, 4 inches or whatever. And then over here, measure up 4 inches exactly and connect those. Just make sure they're even. Because right now it's really difficult. There's some other optical illusions being created because of the fact that the type sits on a diagonal. And that's simply based on the baseline itself. So once we even that out, we take a look at the letter forms. Let's look at craft. You got some smudges on your paper, and technically you shouldn't. I mean, craft here should be perfect. And so I would definitely like to see this a little bit cleaner in your final iteration. I think your letter forms are good. I think they're great. Right now, I'm thinking the word fire has probably, this E right here has got really good craft associated. And the reason I'm picking that out and some of these letters right here is because the contrast is greater over here. It looks like, I'm not real sure what happened, but just the fill here is not as dark. So I would recommend on your final to get a nice soft lead, or even try a marker. And I'm okay with it. I know it says pencil, but I'm okay with using a marker. As long as you keep your line straight, keep your fill really inside those hard lines, I'm okay with that. Okay, so if we take a look at the letter forms themselves, I think mechanically you're pretty good. You're pretty darn good, definitely. Now let's take a look at letter spacing. Right now I think fire is really wide. And again, I think that we can pull some of these letter forms in here. I think this distance between the F and the I kind of sets things up for fire and really establishes a wide kerning there. So I would reduce the kerning between the F and the I and the R and D. I'm going to show you an example in a second. And then fire and I think and is kerned really nicely. I think that the one thing is that this D right here could be a little closer to that end based on this distance right here. And again, ice I think is kerned very well too, but this distance right here can be closed down here between the I and the C. Not much, just a little bit, and then that can be moved. So you want to tighten that up a little bit. So I think out of the three words, I think and is the most successful in terms of kerning. Word spacing itself, I think you're pretty darn consistent. The only issue I'm having is that this distance right here appears to be greater than this distance right here, almost to a point where this is creating a subgroup and interrupting the cadence from being fire and ice to fire and ice. So you want to close that space down there just a little bit. Okay, here's fire and ice. I've kerned this using Illustrator. To me, I consider this to be just about perfect kerning and letter spacing as well. So if you want to take a look at that, and if you want to do this, I'm okay with it. If you set up your Illustrator or InDesign file and kern these the way that you really think they are, study those for a while, and then start placing your letter forms and really study these. So my measurements here are as follows. Right down here, we're at -50, then we're at -25, -10, okay? And then this space right here is -75 in the tracking. Then the A and the N, we're at -10, -50. Then tracking over here between the D and the I is set at -20. I and C kerning is 0. C and E kerning is, I'm sorry, I and C is kerning is -50. And C and E kerning is 0. So if you want to set that up, that to me, again, I think that's about perfect letter spacing. I've also got the baseline, mean line, cap line set up. So Like I said, if I'm okay with you setting this up and then tracing your letters up, not from this. Technically, you should still be hand tracing your letters, placing them manually on the line from this file here. But this is great if you want to set up yourself a guide. Okay, I'm over 10 minutes. I did not want to do that, but I just wanted to be as thorough as I can. Okay, great job. If you have any questions at all before you turn in, please let me know. Thank you.